of Africa.
Ethiopia's tourism potential is diversified. Natural attractions that include some of the highest and lowest places in Africa, along with immense wildlife, including some endemic ones, a very old and well-preserved historical traditions with fascinating steel monument, churches, and castles to witness that. An attractive cultural diversity of about 80 nations and nationalities, and various ceremonies and rituals of different religions. On the other hand, it is one of the poorly performing countries in terms of tourist arrivals. To develop the tourism potential and let it contribute to the national economy and reduce poverty, finding the main determinants of tourist flows is of great necessity. Moreover, it is also equally important to link and synchronize the tourism sector with the ongoing development endeavor so as to help benefit the society, preserve and safeguard touristic riches in a sustainable manner. An all-inclusive promoting and utilizing touristic potentials are among the key instruments in harnessing the national tourism wealth. In this regard, the efforts should not be left to the government alone, but to all stakeholders and the public at large. In recent times, such efforts are underway in trying to promote the tourism sector to help the developmental efforts underway in the country. The government, in putting up the right policy measures and striving for its accomplishment in facilitating all avenues to involve all stakeholders. In this regard, a lot has been achieved so far, but yet a lot remains to be done. Experience sharing activities should be encouraged so as to learn from countries with vast experiences in this regard. Inviting people of the tourism sector from other countries and particularly from African countries will help us gather some insight on the accumulated experience, whereby helping them understand the touristic potential of Ethiopia. In this regard, the recent endeavor by one of private tour operator in Ethiopia is a case in point. A team of visitors made their way to Ethiopia from South Africa tourism sector. The delegation was consisted of tour operators, journalists and filmmakers. While welcoming the delegation, Minister of Culture and Tourism Amin Abdul Qadir expressed his optimism that such brief visits will help visitors acquire lasting impressions of Ethiopia.
Your stay in Ethiopia, though brief, will have a lasting significance. Your influential mechanisms have such a far-reaching image-building impact because you can resonate among the renewed members of entertainment industry beyond the seas and oceans.
According to the minister, the visit will help the team understand the diverse touristic potential of Ethiopia.
Your visit to the source of the Great Blue Nile and one of the ancient holy places on your planet would enable you to see the diversity of nature. You are now also sitting in the middle of the Ethiopian Great Rift Valley, where the scientists has discovered the origin of human species.
The bilateral relations that the two countries enjoy so far is excellent. The cooperation that is endured in so long between these two countries in socio-economic and political spheres is remarkable, but it has to be invigorated. Particularly in the tourism sector, the two countries need to work together even more. And that was what actually echoed at the welcoming ceremony. The Ethiopian airline that has so far been at the forefront of the Ethiopian tourism sector was part of the welcoming celebration. Its CEO, Tewolde ገብረማርያም, on the occasion reminded the team of the importance of the visit about Ethiopia's potential.
It's time for all of you here to educate yourself about Ethiopia and to spread the word in the South African community so that they will have the opportunity to visit this country. And connectivity is not a problem. We are flying daily to Johannesburg, and it's a great honor for me to announce that our first Dreamliner 787 will be deployed in South Africa, and you will have the opportunity and start booking your flight. It will be full in August, and you will be among the very few people in the world to experience this new technology airplane. And with this, once again, I welcome you.
The team started its visit in the Oromia regional state. Then the delegation set out to visit some of the touristic attractions in the Amhara regional state. Upon arrival to the touristic destinations, the team encountered such a marvelous reception. There also, the team was briefed on the touristic potential of the region.
For a country like ours, tourism sector is not only a major contributor to the growth of the economy, but a generator of employment opportunities as well. For many nations, tourism is not only an important source of income, it plays an essential part in their efforts to lift themselves out of poverty. The vibrant tourism industry brings inward investment, foreign exchange earnings, and stimulates employment. It is often advantage for small and medium enterprise. Tourism can be an engine of growth, capable of dynamism and rejuvenating other sectors of the economy. We believe that tourism contributes a lot in the achievements of growth and transformation plan of the region as well as the country.
Well, after the visit in Bahar Dar in Lalibela, we approached the team to ask about their impressions. Most of the visitors were first-timers, but they all agree that they are enchanted with what they observed here.
I've been once before, and my first time was to be the judge for the very, very first Miss Ethiopia beauty competition. So that was my first time, but only in Addis Ababa, and so this is the first time I'm touring the rest of Ethiopia. Not very much, so I'm very, very happy to be here because I think people have a very different idea of Ethiopia. People only look at Addis Ababa, and because it's the home of the African Union, and I think not many people understand what else is there. So people understand good coffee and those sort of things, but and good food, but I don't think people understand how beautiful the country is.
Nadia Muller also said that while coming to Ethiopia, her empathy has turned to perplex.
Nadia Muller. I'm from Johannesburg and I'm a marketer. Oh, it's my first time. Well, what I know about Ethiopia before I came here was just really extreme poverty, I think. And the little knowledge I have is that there was just lots of need, I suppose. And what I felt was a lot of kind of empathy in my heart, and like, you know, a feeling of lots needs to happen. They need a lot of help. I have a lot of hope. I am really pleasantly surprised by the people. I see a lot of pride. I think I feel some of the pride that the people show, and the hospitality has been overwhelming. And then obviously the coffee has been delicious. The food has been absolutely wonderful. And then I'm totally taken aback and astonished by what I've seen here today in Lalibela.
Head of the trend agency, Dion Chang, also shares the view of Nadia.
I think what I'm very, very keen to write about is exactly what we've been speaking about, is the potential for tourism and what I think Ethiopia needs to do to promote itself internationally. While I'm not a tour operator, I travel a lot. So I've traveled to all parts of the world. So I'm your customer that you need to have a look around. And I think there's fantastic things about food, the coffee. So for me, it's to write about those kind of experiences, about the warmth of the people, about the interesting food. Because on my first trip to Ethiopia, I discovered injera, and I really, really love it. So it's those kind of things that I want to speak about and tell people to come here. But also the natural beauty, because Lalibela, I just think is a very stark landscape, but it has its own beauty. But it is to convince those tourists to make the trip outside of Addis Ababa, to come all the way here to experience that. So you have to create a reward that makes it worthwhile to come here. And I think it's there. It needs to be marketed properly.
According to the visitors, there is so much being witnessed with regard to development in Ethiopia.
My name is Pesima Bandu. I come from Pretoria, the political capital city of South Africa, and I'm a journalist, print journalist, working for a newspaper called City Press. It's a weekly newspaper, and we cover everything from politics, lifestyle, business, and all other human interest stories. Okay. Obviously when you're hearing about things and you're hearing them in fractions, you will, form huge ideas. The imagination always builds things bigger than they are, and that's great. But I think there's something very good about seeing things real. The reality of the people, you make a real human contact. And I think that's the first thing that fascinates me. You are always told about how generous and how gentle Ethiopian people are, but to be here and to experience the generosity, it's a cliched thing to say, right? But I think it's real, and I sort of enjoyed it, almost embarrassingly, like, oh man, they're being too nice, but it's beautiful, and I love it. It's, a friend of mine was saying earlier on that being here sort of reignites your belief in the in humanity, if you will, our capacity for kindness. It's a country with a very vast history, conflict, poverty, triumph, hope. All those things live here, and we see a lot of potential, and that's great. And the fact that we are here, we're being shown, the development, Ethiopia defining itself anew, trying to reclaim its glory, if you will, and that's a great thing. It's a motivating thing.
Promoting Ethiopia, or rather marketing Ethiopia, may be quite a bit of a task, but needed to be done.
Okay, my name is Jürgen Skuman. I'm a tour operator in South Africa. We have two offices, one in Cape Town and one in Johannesburg. And marketing is a long-term process. It's a long process. It can't happen overnight. And I think the strategies that you are following now to bring out some media people, to bring out operators from South Africa, you must keep that constantly, and then tourism will grow. We are bringing two groups per year from South Africa, but we can grow that to say 20 or 30. But it will take time, and we need the support from local guys. We need the support from the tourism, from the airline. So, and I think you will succeed. I think you are passionate about your industry, and without a doubt, I think you will succeed over time.
The delegation echoed that the visit has indeed gave them a glance of Ethiopia and pledged that they would contribute their share in helping the tourism sector in Ethiopia.
You know, obviously we are a diverse group. You know, some people, as you said, are operators, others are media people. So we are all looking for different angles, how to experience this. So if I say this, I'm thinking I'm talking on behalf of the group, and they love this whole experience. They share positive things, you know. I think all of us want to go back to South Africa and really go back with a positive story. And in the way, you know, the best way of marketing is by word of mouth, telling people, other people about your experience. So I think talking about the group, it's a very positive feedback.
So far it's been great. We've had a lot to do. There's a lot to see. I don't think a week is enough because we've had to pack in to a short space of time a lot of activities. And I think the next time I come, I'd want to do a lot more and stay longer so I can spend a lot more time doing, you know, certain things.
Indeed, such kind of visit programs epitomizes what the country has to offer with regard to the tourism sector.
Hello and welcome, I'm Tafara Gadamu. The country now has a new Prime Minister. Is the political landscape bound to change? My guest today, Barakat Sumuon, is a Government Communications Affairs Minister. Welcome to the program, Matu Barakat.
A pleasure.
Can you now and here say that the transition is smooth from, you have now a new chairman of the EPRDF and his deputy, and you have a new Prime Minister?
Yes, of course, the transition has been very smooth and orderly, and as it is customary with what has been in the tradition of the EPRDF, and it has been institutional and systemic, so it had been a very smooth transition.
But isn't it a jump cut in a way, because isn't it a market departure in a way, because although you've started the process early on in the last few years, it appears for people who are watching the program that with the new faces coming into the picture, it is quite dramatic.
Well, one can say that in relation to the big posters that we have, but if you look into the kind of leadership that we have in every national organization, in the four organizations and across the spectrum, we've had transition of leadership from old generation to new youngsters coming and going every now and then. So one can say this had been the tradition of the EPRDF. I can tell you, for instance, if you take the ANDM,
the Amhara National
Democratic Movement, we have something like less than 15% of the old guards, while members of the leadership who haven't participated in 3 congresses are the majority. So the leadership continuously evolves, and we have infused new blood to leadership stock of the EPRDF all across the swaps. So this is not a new thing.
So are you saying that the political culture within the EPRDF has been evolving for some point? It has reached a revolutionary departure, because most of the people now in the leadership have never been in the armed struggle.
Well, in one sense you can say that, but in another sense what you can say is bringing people up and substituting leaders from the liberation days by new ones had been going on in the last several years. If you look some of the organizations, they are led from right at the start up to now by people with no liberation movement backgrounds. Some have also been taking the place prior to this situation. So in that sense, we can say also it is a continuity. It's a continuity of a tradition that the PRDF doesn't look at power as something given and frozen for eternity. It is a continuously changing hands by different people, and that had been the culture of the EPRDF.
So you think this is a new beginning of sorts, because with the Prime Minister Meles Zenawi having left the scene?
It is a continuity in a way, because if you look at the last composition of the leadership, the two posts in the leadership, one has been occupied by a person, the Prime Minister himself with the Liberation Movement background. The other was the deputy position had been held by Mr. Haile Mariam, who had no Liberation Movement background. So it's a continuity, but now we can say that all of the posts, these two posts, are held by people from the non-liberation movement background. So we can safely say